So welcome to the October District 5 Advisory Board meeting. As always, my name is Brian Fry, councilperson for this district, and I welcome you here. I do not run the meetings. Tonight we have guest pro tem, Nancy Doolin. JD is out of town, so I always want my dad members to take out the spot when there's one available. This time it was Nancy. So treat her kindly.
Please.
With that, let's get going.
All right, very good. Thank you for everyone for attending. We'll do approval of our agenda for October 7th. I guess, let's see. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes. Next item is approval of minutes. Motion to approve.
I think you noticed that there's an error on the minutes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's just that under members absent, JB Johnson was here. Yes. Should be noted as present. So I move to approve the minutes as members.
Thank you. Second? Second. What was that? Okay, yeah. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. All right, I guess now, we do not have any scheduled items for the public agenda. Are there any off-agenda items that anyone would like to speak about? We'll go on to the agenda updates from any of our members here.
I just have a couple of quick ones. So tomorrow, council meeting, we have expansion of the district. This is Union Station, and that's a 10-acre project that's been under renovation for some time, with restoration of the old train station and then new construction. They are applying to expand that TIF to include an additional property that they have acquired, and are expanding, renovating and expanding it. This is a pay-as-you-go TIF, so they only get it if they complete it and there is an increase in value, and they will use that money towards infrastructure projects in that area. So it's no cost to taxpayers. It would be used to enhance the property, specifically parking has become an issue in that area. The Union Station is a full building now. There's like 600 people employed in that building. And then some of the surrounding area with Cargill, parking has become a premium. So they would be able to put in some additional public parking with that, if approved. It's $370,000 that would be eligible that would go back to the developer. It only happens if the value increases. You see that at the end.
Which property is this?
It's called Ice House. It is between the old Tanya Soup Kitchen, which is now called the Kitchen, and Cargill, just north of Protection 1. It's currently under construction. It's 27,000 square foot facility. They're expanding it to 40,000. They've got it leased with tenants coming in, Occidental Management, Alway Architecture. Can't remember the third. So it is an abandoned property. It's going to be pretty neat when it's finished. We have the 5th Stadium GMP, Guaranteed Maximum Price. This is the approval of the expenses, cost of the stadium build. It's 100% design now. They've gone through all the construction documents. As it stands right now, it's totally over budget by about $734,000. $77,000 total is the estimate, $75,000 for the stadium and $2 million for utility and street infrastructure. Where the overage is due to street utility infrastructure. The stadium bid is actually lower than estimated, and that's because we've had good bids and an oversight committee that's really worked to find opportunities. But there was some utility work that wasn't expected, and they were trying to do some nice things with the street. be the fifth and final stadium expense contracts. So we're nearing it in. We've been by there lately. I think the grass goes in 2-3 weeks. October 28th. And so it's moving right along. Another thing that's on the agenda tomorrow that's probably going to get a little attention is because it's all talk, and it has to do with our water facility. Understand that we have two sources of water. One comes from Genie, and the other comes from our Equus beds. And that's a field of wells north of Wichita, northwest of Wichita. Those wells feed into the transmission mains that comes down to the city. Some of those pipes are 80 years old. They were built in the 40s. They're original pipes. And when they bust and get damaged, then they're not feeding into the main transmission line, or they're putting in additional materials that shouldn't go. So we've got $600,000 to replace about 15 what they call spur lines. That's to design and install. And again, it's to clean up one of our main sources of water. This is a project that was identified several years ago under our asset management infrastructure, and realized that we need to do it. So it's not the water treatment plant, but it's all feeds into it. So again, because water is so top of the town right now, I just want to highlight that. And then we also have a couple of properties that we're declaring a surplus. One is in our district here. It is up by the Chisholm Creek wastewater plant at 37th and 135th. We've ever been out there. There's a property on 37th that was in the floodplain that we acquired at the beginning of all that. And we don't need it. It's not an issue. And we think it's probably better served to get back on the tax roll to make that surplus. So there is currently a house and someone is renting it, but we're going to put it on the market. It's not property we need, and it doesn't affect anything. So those are some highlights on tomorrow's agenda. A couple things and I'm happy to stay afterwards and answer any questions you have about the Northwest Water Treatment Facility. We've launched a new website, wichita.gov/water, and it really talks about the project, the firms associated with it, the scope of work, and what we're doing with it. There is an oversight committee meeting on Friday at 1 o'clock. I'm on that oversight committee along with Councilmember Johnson and a couple of folks in the community as well as staff. And Wichita Water Partners will present their latest estimate on the project cost. We're still in that design phase. We have to have 30% design done by the end of the month to submit to EPA to qualify for our what we call WIFI, and that is a low-cost loan program, which we've been invited to apply, which is a good sign. We get it. We've been told that we qualify for $270 million or 49% of the project, whichever is less. Okay? We do not have to submit our cost estimate with this plan. We just have to prove that it is a viable project with a 30% design. From then, we can continue to fine-tune our estimates and then get that approved later. But right now, what we're required to do as part of the WIFIA application is to submit that 30% design. We're still, going over everything with fine-tooth comb, trying to get that number down as much as possible. $525 million is the estimate. Obviously, that's a very big number, and we want to bring that down as much as we can. Still making sure that we have a safe water treatment facility that has efficiency and redundancy and will last generations. So we don't want to go cheap. We want to make sure we do it right, but we're also sensitive to the great impact it could have on our citizens. So if we can bring that number down, and that's what Wichita Water Partners is working on. Staff is working with them to make sure we got everything that we need. And then we have a third party called Garden, and they are acting as our owner's rep to continue to balance the two and make sure everyone's working together. And then, well, so is the oversight committee. So that's Friday at 1 o'clock, 10th floor of City Hall. You have nothing better to do than want to come out and learn more about water than you ever imagined. Certainly welcome you to. This is something we weren't doing, and in the interest of being open and visible as much as possible, we decided to open it up to the media and the public. We don't have anything to hide. We want to make sure that the citizens know that this is something we've been working on for several years. It is not a surprise to us. There's been a lot of work done on this project. It continues to be. This is not a project that gets built overnight. It takes some time, a lot of checks, balances, oversight from us, from the state, from the feds, everyone. And then again, check out wichita.gov/water. Pretty in-depth, goes through what we've been doing and what the plan is. So I'm happy to answer your questions now or later, if anybody wants to do that. And then one other thing that's probably going to get a little bit of attention is it happened late last year. There was an event at our Advanced Learning Library, which was, I don't know how best to describe it, but it was Drag Queen Story Hour. And it was a private event, not for the general public. And a group has requested to use the facility again for Halloween, Hello Queen story time. I think I got the right name of it. Looking at Tracy.
I was going to say, I am not familiar with what we're talking about is getting ready to happen. What I am familiar with is the activity that happened, and it was actually a library-sponsored activity.
Okay, so
And
that one
it was
was.
intended for adults, it's who it was intended for, and it was it's an event that was modeled after other libraries around the United States, so there's something similar for adults.
So we learned from that, and so now this one is it's called Hello Queen Storytime. It is not a library-sponsored event. It is a private group that is doing it, a local nonprofit, and they are renting the meeting space. It's October 28th, and it is an event that they are doing, not a library-sponsored activity. There will be people upset because it's coming back, in the same type of event. Bottom line is, when we have library meeting rooms available to the public, that is something that is considered designated public forum space. And we have to allow it. Once we have our policy in place, we have to allow it. Otherwise, we face legal and financial consequences. Now, we can put stipulations on the rental, like it can't be anything that's going to generate sales or they can't use it for a sale of items and so forth, or donations. They can't use it for any purposes that are illegal, and they can't use it for anything that would interfere with the proper functioning of library business. So, by granting permission, we are not endorsing the event. It's not a library-sponsored event. That's how it will be promoted. But because we have community rooms, we have to allow these things to happen. Again, you can put restrictions on what type of exposure, how it would impact the flow of traffic in the library and so forth. And the groups are compliant, but that will probably raise an ire of the public as well. So just want you to be aware of it. And we put pretty stringent rules on what they can say. So, but it's something we have to allow within our written policy. So, I just want you to be aware of that as well. And that's for advanced level library, not this. So, that's all I got. I don't need more.
Does anyone else have anything to offer? I just want to give an update. I attended the Sedgwick County Access Advisory Board. Brian appointed me, and we recently had a meeting on September 25th. And a lot of it was regarding committee updates, actually with the transit community here, along with buildings. This group really has a concern about the sidewalk cafes, the NASCAR park, and the new baseball stadium. So there's a lot of discussion on making sure that it is accessible to individuals here that need that accessibility. So the other concern that they have is the ADA coordinator for the city of Wichita. That is an open position right now. And Gary Jansen has been attending our meetings and is working on filling that and has certain requirements. So it's amazing. These people are very local and want to be heard, and it is a great committee. I just want to give you that update.
To that end, we have been working with representatives of ADA to create a second ADA compliant bus stop within New Market. Right now, bus route 11 is north on Major, turns to Central Park, and there's a stop, a shelter with a bench there, Target property. Then it goes into New Market, stays around the back behind, and comes out between Walmart and the building on the north. And there is no ADA stop until you get all the way out to Maze Road, with the ADA compliant side. No shelter, no bench. We have found a piece of property on the Walmart property that has ADA sidewalks on both sides, and we requested that we install a bench on their property. We're waiting for Walmart corporate to approve. And then that will become the second ADA compliant stop within New Market. And it'd be in a good location because it's right there on the sidewalk, Walmart easily into the stores. Yeah, so we're just down, we're waiting on Walmart.
And that was reported. I apologize.
But it will be reported.
All right, now we'll move on to staff reports, the fire department.
My name's Ken Austin, I'm the captain here on C shift. Just an overview of the alarms that we made. There were 3 small fires, a fire loss, 35 service alarms, which probably just somebody fell over, we had to pick them up. Nothing that we needed EMS for. And then 257 medical alarms within the last month there. So it's not all out of this station, but in the district. A couple other things to make note of. Getting a new recruit class sometime in November, probably 5 to 10 personnel at our fire department. Fire Prevention Week started yesterday. And what's that?
You're getting back too soon.
And remember changing batteries in your smoke. That reminded me of that when I was changing the clock back to straight with us. A couple of things that happened during Fire Prevention Week, like tomorrow, have the 5th grade luncheon at Sedgwick County Zoo. You guys probably didn't ever attend that as children, but I've had some small children and I got some grandkids that'll probably be there tomorrow. So that's going on. And then like Friday, smoke alarm blitz day. So if you know of somebody that needs a smoke detector, they need to call downtown to 268-4441, and we can get a smoke detector installed for them. So you do that for one other thing I'll mention is Fire Station 17, which is up here on West Maple Street. They got a new fire truck. It's called the brush truck. It's kind of more of an off-road one that we can use not only on our surrounding area, the soil out here, out west here. We're supposed to get a couple more of them, but it also helps as far as our task force. The city of Wichita can go into other areas like the big fires that they had in Hutchinson a few years ago. We took a couple of our squads out there, and they don't really, not really made to go off-roading like this truck is. So we're getting, we got the one on track now at Station 17, and I think we have approved for a couple more of them in the next 2 months. So if you get a chance to stop by 17, it's kind of an awesome looking little truck and get the hill tires. pretty cool. Gonna let me drive it too. So. Axes and Cuffs boxing tournaments November 9th out at the sports forum, so get to see some firemen beat up on police officers or vice versa.
Are you participating?
Oh, heck no. I'm way too old for that. So, yeah, any questions? All right, enjoy your meeting.
Thank you very much. Community police report.
Good luck.
All right, I'm Steve Yarberry. I'm a sergeant for Patrol West Community Policing. Officer Hopp was going to be here, but he couldn't make it, so a few notes he has. In September in District 5, we had a neighborhood cleanup on September 21st, the Country Acres neighborhood cleanup. It was a very big success. Of course, most of you know September 22nd, we had ICT Open Streets, the third time we did it. Attendance was down a little bit, but I think it may have been, we had some kind of rough weather that morning, could have been the reason, but it turned out real nice. I was out there working, it was a beautiful day. Upcoming on October 26th, we have the Westlake Neighborhood Association cleanup, October 26th. A few of the crime stats, part 1 offenses are your major crimes. Burglary, robbery, homicide, rape, these kind of major crimes. On 16 beat, and all these beats are part of District 5. Year to date, they're down 17%. On 19 beat is where we're at now. Those are down 6%, and then 199 beat, which is just south of us here a little bit, it's down 26%. I'll tell you about a couple things we're doing in the Patrol West Bureau and now actually citywide. Before I do that, I want everybody to take note. The weather's going to get cold later this week. We're going to have an uptick in auto thefts. We call them car warming auto thefts. We do assignments where we go out and find cars that are running early in the morning, put flyers on them. Some of the newer cars, we have people tell us, well, my car, you can start it, it's got a remote, you can't run that car unless you put a key in it. That's right, but the ones that are being stolen, there's a lot of people don't have cars like that. They still go out and start them. Oh, I'm going to just run back in for a couple of minutes, they go back out and their car's gone. So we want to make people aware that auto thieves are out looking for your cars and they'll take it. Two things we have going in the Patrol West Bureau right now. One is to try to reduce auto license theft violations, okay, or the thefts of them. We're seeing an increase, especially in apartment complexes, because you can walk through an apartment complex and you're not out of place because everybody's walking through apartment complexes. So what we've done is we purchased some security screws, and they're in a little packet. I don't have one with me today or I'd show it, but basically it's got a card from the Wichita Police Department. If you've been a victim and had your license tag stolen, we make contact with these apartment managers, work with them, let them know so they can let their tenants know, but also we'll go out and provide them, or we'll even install them if somebody can't for some reason put them on their car. So we're doing what we can to try to reduce these auto license thefts. It's our bureau and Patrol North that's kind of pilot this right now. And the last thing I'll leave you with, we just released it through the media last week. Patrol West for the last 6 months has been doing a project dealing with felony domestic violence cases. And felonies are your aggravated batteries, your criminal threats, it could rapes, robberies, any felony crime that's domestic related. It could be all the way up to homicide. In the last 2 years, there have been 10 domestic violence homicides in the city of Wichita. And so 6 months ago, now Deputy Chief Wanda Gibbons, who has been our captain, took this pilot program on. And there's two parts of it. And one part is when officers go out, they determine they have a felony domestic violence crime. Either if there's probable cause to make arrest, either the suspect is located and they make the arrest. If the suspect is not located, they issue a felony pickup and they put this information on a spreadsheet that all officers have access to. In the past, we would put it on our interwatch, it'd be read in squad meetings, But those items only stay on a day or two on the interwatch. If you're on your days off and you come back to work, somebody could have a pickup for felony crime and you would never know it. So now officers can come back to work, pull the spreadsheet up, look, do I have anybody on my beat? And so we're clearing a lot of these felony pickups, which before some of those were staying on for months and months and months. So that's one part of the program. The second part, and this is what my unit does, when you have a victim of domestic violence, it's of a felony crime, it's put on a spreadsheet, and then we go out and try to recontact that victim in 24 to 48 hours. And we take them a packet, and it's got all kind of pamphlets in there about domestic violence, protection from abuse orders. There's assistance through the Attorney General's office. We have 2 advocates that work for the police department. Their business cards are there and their phone numbers are there. And we talk to these victims about why are they in that situation, what has got them there, a little bit about their past. In the first 6 months, we had 91 cases. We had 99 victims. Sometimes there's more than one victim on a case, maybe a child or something that's a victim. And we were successful in delivering 66 packets to these victims. There's another component to it that 30 days down the road, we try to make contact with the victims again to check up on them, see where they're at. Now, the pilot program, there wasn't a lot of success in the 30-day because sometimes the offender's out of jail, they've moved on, we can't locate them, there's a lot of reasons. So that wasn't successful, but it was very successful about bringing them the package right on off the bat. We know that some of these victims are going to go back to their offenders. National statistics show that a victim will be abused by the offender 5 to 7 times before they leave that offender. Okay. So we're trying to do what we can, and all the effort is, if you save one person from being re-victimized, it's all worth it. And it's hard to get officers to buy into it. And this program last Tuesday went citywide, all bureaus are doing it. It's hard to get people to buy into it because, I mean, I've been on the police department a long time, and we often in our job see victims keep going back and back and back. But what I've told the officers that because I deliver these packets too, so I know what it's all about. But nothing's worked up to this point either. So what does it hurt for us to do a little bit more to try to save some people from being re-victimized? And then the last thing I'll leave you with, you may have seen a little bit of media on it last week. I call it a success story. We have a victim that I dealt with. She was victimized of felony domestic violence crimes 3 times in a month. And the first time she showed up on her list, I went and saw her. She's not married to the offender, and they have no children together, and she's not living with him. Okay, so she was assaulted, she was strangled. A lot of these cases involve strangulation. She was strangled. After I give her this information, she tells me she's never going to go back to him again. About a week and a half to 2 weeks later, she shows back up on her list again. So I read the case. The suspect had got booked into jail, bonded out, called her, "I'm sorry, I love you, come see me." She did. He broke her jaw and fractured her orbital, which is the bone around your eye. This time she was kind of difficult to locate, but I found her. She was in Oklahoma. Says she's never going to go back to this guy again. And so 2 weeks later, she returns. And this time he threw her down, kicked her severely, put her in the hospital for 5 days. She had a ruptured pancreas. She was beaten very badly, but we didn't give up. So she got out of the hospital. I went to see her, brought her a packet. We talked about it again. I found out she threw the first one in the trash. Kept being persistent with her. The suspect, by the way, was arrested. He's been charged. He's sitting in jail on a $750,000 bond. She did contact our advocates the next day. We've got her in counseling, and the money's through the Attorney General's office is helping with her medical because she doesn't have insurance. So, you know, I'm not saying that she's always gonna not be a victim, but she's alive today. So to me, that's a success of the effort that we put into it. We have saved her from being a homicide victim. so for now. So, anybody got any questions?
I appreciate you sharing the Captain Gibbons promotion. She ran West Bureau, now she's deputy chief. That's happened last week.
Right. She'll start her new job Saturday, is when it's effective. And then we're getting out here in the West Bureau, we're gonna get Captain Jason Stevens. He was just promoted. He was a lieutenant in the sex crimes division prior to this.
So is she replacing someone? Did someone retire?
Troy Livingston retired.
Oh, me too.
Yes.
And he went to work.
Kelly TC, he's an instructor at Kelly TC. So he retired, it's been vacant for a while, and so she was promoted. She'll be in support services.
I don't know if you were connected, but I know pretty recently had the funeral this past weekend from Acton.
Right.
I did not know this until yesterday, but his aunt goes to church with us, and she shared how proud she was and how overwhelmed the family was by what Wichita Police Department did
Right.
for that. And on top of that, she said, oh, by the way, she had a brother that's going through cancer and she's right now, so she said, got a little bit overwhelmed. But
I
that was a very
understood
nice
that,
thing.
because our motor officers led the procession to the cemetery, which was in Towanda, and many agencies, even Butler County, that assisted in that traffic control, said that citizens were lined from the church out at 2900 North Rock all the way to the cemetery. It was pretty impressive. So,
She commented on the church. I thought, share that with you members. So.
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Park and Recreation Department?
So, good evening, David Lamar with Park and Rec. Yes, the Open Streets event wasn't attended as much as in the past, but it was a really good event. I think that's one of the better events that we do, and this community really pulls together. And so, again, we had a nice event. We do have out on the city's website, on the Park and Recreation page, we have a new interactive park locator that you can go out, and if you want to find a park, how far it is away from your house, what kind of amenities are at the park, you can do some checking off and be able to determine, say, I want to find a park that has restrooms and a shelter and a ball diamond. Click those three and it'll pull up exactly what parks have that. So that's new to the Park and Recreation website. So that's pretty cool. I don't have too many park things to talk about. Like Councilmember Prime mentioned, Proc Wetlands needs mowed. Yeah, so we need to get by there and get that mowed. And then it rained 3 inches out here on the northwest side of town over the weekend, so it's going to be wet and muddy and all of that stuff. But park stuff is just, we're continuing to mow it. As long as it stays warm and as long as it stays raining, we're going to have weeds and grass to mow for sure. Some of the special events that I mentioned last week, I'll bring them up again. Wicked Island, if you need a haunted event to go to down at Watson Park, is going on through the end of the month. Kids Connection, there's some in-service days next week that 3 of our recreation centers, Edgemoor, Linwood, and Orchard, are going to be offering events for parents if you need childcare and fun things for your kids to do next week. We've got that covered. Trick or Treat on the Lake is October 19th. That's where I mentioned we're going to get in the pedal boats and go along the shore, and Spooks are going to hand out candy down at Watson Park. That's a new event. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, all of our recreation centers are going to have fall festivals and Halloween events coming up at the end of the month. And I'm sure, I'll bet, since I mentioned the family camp out last time I was here, you guys have your camping gear all organized and ready to go for November 8th and 9th, right? That's your packed up and waiting for that day. So that's down at Lodging Park as well. So other than that, we just got normal classes going on and for fall and getting ready to do some special events here come December. So any questions or comments? All right.
Thank you, Dave. Wichita Public Library report, please.
I'm Tracy Partridge, and I'm the manager of the Westlink Branch Library. And always, it's a pleasure to be here. The first thing that I want to mention is our Big Read Initiative that actually started at the beginning of October. And this year, we are actually reading Lab Girl by Hope Jarman. And it is a memoir about a young woman with bipolar disorder who actually becomes a really respected scientist in her field and overcomes a lot of obstacles. And it shows how she triumphs over them. Now, the Big Read Initiative, it runs through November 15th. During that time period, we do a lot of activities to encourage learning and interaction with literature. We did have a kickoff party on September 28th at our Advanced Learning Library. We had over 360 individuals attended that. And they actually got copies of Lab Girl by Hope Jarman. Now, we still have some free copies that we are giving away. We are doing it at featured events for the Big Read Initiative. And the next one is actually at Botanica, and it is on Wednesday at 12:15. And we have, it's like our keynote presentation with Aubrey Stride-Krug and Tim Cruz from the Land Institute. And they are a writer and a scientist who are going to talk about the insights and questions that have occurred from their study of human relationships and croplands. So that should be really exciting. If you have already gotten a copy of Lab Girl, you can take it to the Botanica presentation and they will give you $2 off your admission. If you have not, you will pay like a normal Botanica fee, but you will actually get a free copy of Lab Girl while supplies last. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. I have some other programs that I want to highlight. Most of them are at Westlink. The first one is Sharing Patterns, Sharing Lies. It's a Kansas Quilts program. It's actually about a certain portion of history, quilting history from Emporia. And it's actually the 20th century. So we're excited about that one. That is October 13th at 2:30. So if anyone here likes history or quilting, please come. We want to see you. It would be fabulous. Another one is actually happening at the Advanced Learning Library, and I think it sounds fascinating. It's Learning Circle Paranormal Investigation. What learning circles are is an opportunity for individuals to take a computer class together, and then what they do is they actually do a lot of discussion and interaction amongst themselves. Sometimes it's really hard for us to motivate ourselves to do an activity when we're at home alone, but by actually committing to a learning circle, it's that push you need to actually do it. Now they are doing 2 sessions on October 15th and then again on October 22nd. So it progresses at 6 at the Advanced Learning Library. But what I'm really excited about is October 29th at 6:30, because they are actually going to have Sherry Curry, who's a member of the Wichita Paranormal Research Society, come and speak. She's going to talk about the investigations that she does and equipment that she uses and what she has seen and heard and experienced. So I think that sounds pretty fascinating. Another thing that we're doing that I'm really excited about is a book presentation at the Westlink Branch Library. That's on November 2nd at 2:30, and it's The Last Wild Places of Kansas. It is actually by George Frazier. This program does require registration. It's November 2nd at 2:30 at Westlink, but he really explored Kansas for a period of 3 years, finding spaces that people weren't as familiar with, finding like land that had never been plowed, and forests which have flying squirrels and all sorts of like exciting things. And he talks about his adventures in the book. So I am eagerly anticipating that. That book actually won the Midwest Book Award and the Kansas Nobles Book Award. So that's pretty cool. And then the final thing that I want to mention is a program we're doing at Westlink on November 4th at 2:30. And it's called Avoiding Scams. We live in scary times where we can easily be victimized. And we are very fortunate to have Consumer Credit Counseling and the Better Business Bureau coming to talk with people about what are the most common scams and what you can do in order to avoid them, because all of us need help in order to avoid them. So those are just a few of the activities. As everyone knows, we do a lot at the library. There are a ton of things. And I brought some extra at your libraries for November and December that I will put on that table back there. I also brought something called Book Page. This is a publication that the library has once a month. It's free, just like our calendar. It lists upcoming books that are coming out. So you are a reader. You need this, and it will be back there. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Okay. As always, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk. Okay.
Some extra copies. There's some extra.
I will take it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Public Works and Utilities report.
Mike Arbor for engineering, Public Works and Utilities, just to kind of give you an update on some of the projects going on in District 5. The arterial street OP3 work, there's 2 arterial streets. Later this year, they'll be worked on Central from Shepherd to Mays. They're going to be doing the prep work. Actually, it's in progress, I think, now. The overlay will occur early next year. Tyler from Maple to Second, the prep work will be starting here shortly, later this year. Again, with the asphalt overlay occurring as temperatures warm back up in the spring. And just on that kind of scheduling note, that's kind of fallen to when the projects have kind of budget and everything's kind of got underway and the project's been bid. That by the time crews are able to get to it in the later part of the summer, and they finish up that prep work, the cold weather hits and they have to wait until warmer weather in the spring to hit the overlays. So come 2020 with the new budget, we're actually getting a bit of a jump on that. So the hope or the goal is that starting 2020, those OP3 work on the arterial streets are occurring in the same calendar year. Some sidewalk work, Ridge Road 29th to the Cloisters is in progress, and 13th Street east of Ridge Road should be getting underway in November. I know it's not in District 5, but that Hoover bike path, the signal will be getting constructed first in spring of 2020, and the path to be following. 13th Street improvements out to 135th. That will have to be early 2020. There was an easement that was still needing to be acquired. That easement, as it turns out, was pretty pivotal just to the way we work with compensatory storage on drainage. And so it wasn't one that we could kind of just redesign around. We needed it. It's going through the eminent domain process to acquire. And those will be kicking off in November, and that's a several-month process. So it'll be 2020 before the construction can start. 29th and Mays intersection improvements, just looking at the south leg and the east leg for those major turning moves, the northbound right turn and the westbound left turn. Easement acquisition, utility relocation on wrapping up later this year, so construction will start in 2020. That'll also kind of work out. It would, that's such a big shopping destination. If it would kick off right now, all those shopping destinations would be impacted right around the holidays.
Mike, talk about the sign that's going to be put
So there will be a sign they're going to put there at the intersection to say the right turn improvements, right lane turning movement improvements will be coming soon in 2020. Gary mentioned that to me earlier today. I'm not sure if the exact wording has been ironed out.
We just want to, because as you mentioned, holiday season, that gets a lot more traffic and it does get backed up, especially now the Hobby Lobby too. So there's going to be a big 4x4 sign, 4 foot by 4 foot, on the east side of the road going north to the light that says right lane only turn coming January 2020. So that while people are sitting there, at least there can be some hope. But if we try to do that construction right now, that would, a little mess things up. But we want to give some people the information that we are doing some improvement there. So you'll see that come up hopefully fairly soon.
Yeah, we don't know what the time frame is.
So but that's going to be a big improvement as we get that dedicated.
Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so I used to be a special projects engineer and take a lot of heck about East Kellogg. That was what I was working on, but now I get to take heck on all the traffic signals. The traffic issue. So it's just
Congratulations. Can we give you a list? Please check one out over west, east of Ridge Road on North Shore.
That's also good, so that means come on,
That's right.
it's actually East Kellogg needs to want quite a talk to the contractor. They're actually ahead of schedule on some miles. I know we're on the west side, but when the commutes out there, come in this year, hopefully there's some change. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, our next section is to receive and file the staff reports. Do I have a motion? Second. Thank you. I'm not quite sure. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. Dave, your turn.
Good evening, Dave, you're up for planning staff. The only zoning case we have in the district now, right, it's pending is another amendment to the Branch property commercial unit plan at 13th and Mays. It is again the folks that are building the indoor storage facility that on the new plan is called parcel 2B. The last amendment, apparently they did not really wrap their head around the fact that according to the old CUP plan, it required along the south property line, where they abut the apartment complex to the south, they were to put up a masonry wall. They also will put one on the west property line. The contractor came in and said, to build that masonry wall, we've got to straighten around all the trees that are along that common line. And they had talked to the folks that lived in the apartment complex and managed that. They said, we don't want those trees to go. So they pursued us and contacted us and basically have submitted an amendment that will be heard by the Planning Commission on this Thursday. The intention is to, instead of building that as a masonry wall, they want to put up a wooden privacy fence that will be along that common south line, essentially from where Mays Court ends all the way to the west line. Now, that masonry wall will still go along the west line, but that's open and that's not going to create a problem for them. But they want to put the wood privacy fence up along that south line rather than toward the trees out. So that's what is on the agenda for that amendment. Staff recommendation is to approve that. This goes to the Planning Commission this Thursday. Really, I've only had one phone call, and that was the lady that helped manage the management company of the project on the west side. And she said, what are they doing to ours? And nothing. Okay, we're good. So I've had nothing that I've heard from the folks with the project in the south. They were notified because they had to do a full FAST notification again, which was a large area. And all those folks were notified that we've not received any calls. So be happy to answer any questions you got.
My only question is, naturally, the wall, the upkeep probably would not be as much as the wood fence. So what type of regulations of like a wood fence? I mean, is there anything like that? Because I have seen some wood fences go up that easily can be
True.
knocked down.
Well, the CUP as an amendment or as a condition of having a screening wall by making it as the language will indicate it's the owner of the lot and their responsibility to continue to maintain that because it's a screening requirement in the zoning code as well as in CUP documents. So they'll have to, probably not going to have as much to maintain other than maybe painting if it was masonry wall, but they'll be required to maintain wood fences. We would hope that new, it's going to be okay. Yeah, after a few years, it's going to be a maintenance issue. So.
I'm sorry, I mean, it's even, and I live in that complex. And if I remember it correctly, on that north side of the complex, there is a masonry wall that is the apartment complexes. So the trees would be in between the masonry wall and then the wood fence.
Does that masonry roll run all the way out to the next court?
It comes to, it borders the entire north side of the apartment complex. And then, and it also, there's a masonry wall that borders the east side of the complex. I'm down on the south side, so we have Ron. But any part of the complex that is bordering another property, and the only reason we have Ron on our side is because it's the protection pond.
Right.
So, but the trees there to protect those is they're two-story apartments.
Right. Thank you for that information. Are there any other questions? Whichever of you guys find anything.
Because there's a wall, we need a wall.
Because that wall doesn't have to be there from the apartment side. The commercial property on the north has to have a screening wall. But I don't know why that wall was put in there. Yeah.
It was not required in the old CUP
Right.
and or anything of that. So
So we're gonna put a fence, trees, and a wall. Is that like arbitrary issues?
I mean, in theory, if the apartment complex were to ever take down
I understand.
Right there.
I understand wall.
No, I
I mean, you're gonna cut off.
Or if they didn't want to maintain it anymore, they can take it down. And open up that tree line.
Depends on where the trees fall. I was about to ask her, do we know which side of the property line the trees fall on?
most of them are on
Yes, but
the north side, and I looked at the survey lines, and it looked like the survey line kind of at times went through some trees.
Sure.
But the indication was they had provided on the plats and the CUP, there's a 5-foot wide wall easement along that south property line where the storage complex is going. And keep in mind also that the west end of that will be a detention facility, so that's going to be open. But contractor said that, in looking at that, we're going to have to take out a lot of trees to get a wall in there that will work right. So that's why they're doing that.
remind me, is the entrance to the storage facility off of Mays Court?
No,
Or is it off of
you know,
13th to the,
well, they do. They're going to have, actually not the entrance, the exit coming out of that.
okay,
Will come down into the Mays Court facility. But you know where that drive snakes through all the way up to 13th by CVS and behind the car wash and all that. There will be an entrance off of that internally into the facility.
so there will be some additional requirements for that barrier that is proposed to be a fence to go on down to Mays Court where that exits.
Well, it's not
So
really.
it's a little bit beyond.
It's not going to, they're not going to close that off. It's only on the property that adjoins the residential stuff to the south, which is from the end of Mays Court to the west property line. The rest of their property abuts Mays Court. They don't have to fence that.
Is there any other questions or discussion? And the recommended action is here. And ask for a motion to approve the recommended action.
A motion to approve staff comments.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, the next order of business is adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Thank you all for coming.
Great job, Nancy.
Yes, good job.
Can I just, let go the other part of my intro? So I'm the new, animal services or animal control advisory board president for District 5. So I'll try to put it down and stuff, but if there is stuff that I need to know, please let me know. The first meeting I'll be attending is the 16th.
Very good, thanks.